All right, here I go. The big adventure begins. I've got a few stops to make before I leave out of town, but here goes. This has been a dream of mine for a very long time, and now I'm finally doing it. I am finally on my way to White Mountain National Forest in Maine. But first, I headed south to Florida to spend some much needed time with my fiance, who you will get to meet in a future video. After an amazing week with my amazing person, I drove 1,600 miles to the complete opposite north side of the country. The total drive was around 2,700 miles, and I loved every minute of it. Almost. Well, this is just terrific. Big old busted spot right on my windshield. And all over this stretch of the road, there is tools, sockets, littered all over the road here. Among all the debris and tools on the road was this steel ball that jumped up and took a chunk out of my windshield. But you know what? It's a small thing, and I'm not going to let it ruin this trip or steal my joy. I'm so excited. I have finally made it. I have reached Maine, and I am officially in White Mountain National Forest. And now the hunt begins to find a camping spot. Okay, so I made it to White Mountain National Forest, and there is a lot of really great camp spots, but they're all paid. It's about $22 a night, which would be fine, but my intent is to try to find some place that is free to camp, preferably away from people. I like people. I want them to go away. So I have come back into town. Actually, I went back across the state line into New Hampshire and found a parking lot that would let me park overnight, and I'm going to stay here for the night. I will probably go back into Maine tomorrow. There's this cute little picnic area that I can set up my laptop and work. I'm sure I can find a quaint little coffee shop somewhere nearby to go in and work if I need to. But I do have to work, unfortunately. I can't spend all day in the woods as much as I would love to. Or at least I could once I get Starlink put up. That is the plan. I wasn't able to do it this trip, but that is coming, and we'll talk about in a subsequent video. After less than a perfect night's sleep, I got up around 4 a.m. just before sunrise and set out to find a camp spot for the week. Just after sunrise, I found the perfect spot off an old logging trail. Words cannot describe how absolutely beautiful this place is to me. This is something I have wanted to do. I'm getting choked up for a very, very long time. This is my home on wheels for the rest of the week and probably for the next couple of years. I'll go over in more detail what I got here and how I did all this and what it is. Whatever. I think right now it's time to kind of tidy up a little bit and make some coffee. I am usually not a fan of instant coffee, but I've had this for a little while that I bought for a previous camping trip where I didn't have all the proper prep tools that I do now. So I'm just going to use it up. Fortunately, I have a job that allows me to work remotely, which is amazing. So I can continue to enjoy this beautiful nature while still earning a paycheck. Because I do unfortunately have to work. As much as I would love to do this full time and nothing but this, I still got bills to pay and I still have a home and responsibilities back at my home. So here we go. Good morning, everyone. It is about 5:30 in the morning. I don't know if you can pick it up, but just off behind me there is a little stream running, kind of like a, can't really call it a river, but you can hear that. I can hear the birds. The sun has started to rise, but hasn't peeked up over the mountains yet. I had probably one of the best nights of sleep that I have ever had in my life last night. It's a little cool this morning, but the air is fresh. It's just amazing. Hi everyone, future editing Cami here. So my intent for this series is to really document the U.S. National Forest and share it with you, and I don't feel like I did White Mountain National Forest in Maine justice. So my DC to AC power inverter that I used to charge my laptops died, and I would have to drive about 30 minutes away every day to the town to charge my laptops and work, and that really cut into my time to be able to capture some good content and share it with you. So here's what I was able to capture and document, and I hope that it's helpful. So Maine is a hiker mecca. If you like hiking, Maine is the place to go, and especially White Mountain National Forest. Now, it's small by comparison to other national forests, and I really wished I would have had time to explore some of the trails, but I didn't. There are around 1,200 miles of trails in Maine. The Appalachian Trail also runs through White Mountain National Forest on its way up to Mount Katahdin, and about 162 miles or 160 miles, I think it is, of the Appalachian Trail actually runs through the forest. A few years ago, I traveled to Georgia and hiked from the Amicalola Falls State Park, which is where the 8-mile approach trail to the Appalachian Trail head at Springer Mountain is, and I did 40 miles on that trail. And I really wanted to do a section of the Appalachian Trail in Maine, but I just didn't have the time, and weather also turned kind of nasty. So someday I will go back and do that. If you are a winter person and love snow machines, as they call them in Alaska, this is where you want to be. There are around 400 miles of trails, so if this is your thing, this is the place for you in the winter. If you like to ski, they have 6 ski touring areas and 4 alpine ski areas. I'm not a skier, so I don't really know much about what that means, but there are also places I've seen where people can go off-roading with four-wheelers or ATVs in the summer. I don't know much about that either, but I did see a lot of that, and there is Polaris dealers all along State Road 2, so definitely a place for you to check out. There are 23 developed campgrounds, but only 2 that I'm aware of that are managed by the U.S. Forest Service. They are Hastings Campground, located here on the northwest side of White Mountain National Forest, real close to the New Hampshire border. And then there is Crocker Pond Campground, located here, and it is on the more eastern side of White Mountain National Forest. Hastings Campground was really nice. Crocker Pond, it seemed a little sketchy. I drove all around the forest there on my 3rd day looking for a free camp spot, and it just didn't feel safe. And just inside the forest boundary, I came across what looked like a homeless encampment. It may have been somebody's private property, but there was tons of burnout RVs and junk vehicles and shacks, and it just didn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling. I did find a decent spot and ended up staying there one night, but the cell reception was not great, and I really do need that for work. So until I get satellite internet, I have to stick to areas where I have some sort of cell service. Now, on the subject of cell service, if you are like me where internet connectivity is essential, here is how I choose where to search for a free campsite with the possibility of having cell service. Google Earth is an excellent tool, and if you use a laptop while traveling, there are a few other tools that you can use to help. The first one is a USB GPS module. So I found one on Amazon and I will link it in the description. The second one is a keyhole markup language or KML file. This is a file that you import into Google Earth and will show you the boundaries of all the U.S. National Forest, and I'll include a link for that. The one that I use comes from the Oregon GeoHub website, and it's really easy to download. You'll just go to the website and you will generate a new KML file and then download it. Once you have it downloaded, open Google Earth and click on File, then Open, and locate the KML file you just downloaded. Select it and click Open. In the top left panel labeled Places, you will see a new folder named National Forest Boundaries. Google Earth has the boundaries for the National Forest already, but I find the ones from the Oregon GeoHub website to be more accurate when identifying the Forest Service boundaries. I use this in conjunction with the built-in one on Google Earth, since it will also show locations of campgrounds and other Forest Service locations. Once you have the USB GPS module attached, open Google Earth and click on the Tools tab, then select the GPS checkbox. This will open the GPS tool window. Click on the Real-Time tab and then select the checkbox for the Automatically Follow Path. I don't have the module connected right now, but when it is, the map will update your current location and it'll follow you. This is a great tool for seeing how close you are to a spot or other possible camp spots nearby. It does require internet access, so if you're in an area with no service, the satellite images will not load, so it's a good idea to pin a potential area of interest when you have service before you start traveling toward it. The third tool I use is to locate spots with the highest possibility of having good cell service. This is on the FCC Info website, and it's produced by a consulting firm called Cavell and Mertz. This link is also posted in the description. This one is similar to the KML file we used for outlining the National Forest boundaries, but this one is a KMZ file, and it is a zipped file of other KML files. And it will show you the locations of all the FCC registered radio towers, and it opens the same way the KML file does. Once it's installed, you will see a folder under the places called FCC Info. Expand it and check the ASR Towers checkbox. This will populate the map with locations of all antenna structure registrations that are most likely to be cellular communication towers. If you click on one, it will display information about that tower. So look for ones that are owned by Global Tower, American Tower, or a major telecommunications company like AT&T. Zoom in on it to see the tower structure. The ones that are triangular lattice structures are usually cell towers. You can tell by the antenna that is on them. Cell towers will have a triangular top with long white boxes on all three sides, or large round antenna that look like drums. Broadcast radio towers are usually only a single antenna mounted on a very tall, skinny tower. This won't necessarily tell you what cell service providers use that tower, since all of them lease space from Global Tower or American Tower, who are now merged. It will at least give you some idea where you may have service. Most cell towers have a 40-mile range, but this can vary based on their elevation. I'm a telecommunications engineer, can you tell? Okay, so now we have an area, but how do we find an actual camp spot? For this, I use two tools. I use Google Earth and an app called iOverlander. Mostly Google Earth, though. Once I have found a spot to start looking, I will open Google Earth and zoom in on the area I'm interested in. Route 113 runs the entire eastern length of White Mountain National Forest, and at one point it crosses over the state line into New Hampshire, and I drove the entire stretch looking for a camping spot. I was interested in this spot here in particular, but when I got there was a gate. Now, it looks like there is established fire rings there, so the gate doesn't necessarily mean that you can't camp there. It just means that you can't drive there. Dispersed camping is okay if you're willing to hike in. At this point in time, I was not willing to hike in, but I would probably do so in the future. Now, one thing you'll learn about me is that I am deeply patriotic. My father's a veteran, my fiance's a veteran, and combine that with this amazing view and how much I absolutely love my country, you'll understand why this memorial plaque to a World War I veteran named Errol Donahue got me totally choked up. I ended up finding an off-lease logging spot just off Highway 2, and which is where most of my time was spent. But you got to be careful camping there. The U.S. National Guard has a special permit for the Bog Brook area, and it covers a pretty large section off of that highway. I don't believe civilians are permitted to use that area. There are also a few areas that are private property. So this is where the iOverlander app would come in handy. It shows you where there are areas within the National Forest that are not BLM or Forest Service land. They're private property. The Forest Service maps for Google Earth don't necessarily show those. So it's always better to check. If you're in doubt, contact the Forest Ranger's office for that district. There's sometimes 2 or more in every district. And always be respectful of private property. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching and listening to me drone on and make the microphone pop. I promise in the future I'll get better at distancing myself and controlling my volumes and all that. I'm learning this stuff. I am learning new video editing software and new audio processing software, so please bear with me. I will leave you with my last day at White Mountain National Forest in Maine. Good morning. It's a bit chilly here this morning, but I really slept good last night. Perfect temperature. All snuggled up under my blankets. Today's a little bit of a sad day. It is my last day here in White Mountain National Forest in Maine, and this place has been absolutely amazing.